Hi, so this is step 4. Make a searching and fearless moral inventory of ourselves. Right, this is where there's supposed to be the meaningful behaviour change begins. I think it began once I put the drink down, to be honest. But in this, you're supposed to reflect honestly on your past actions and behaviours and others' past actions and behaviours. 2. Take responsibility for your actions and their consequences without blaming others. 3. Identify your character defects and shortcomings. 4. Name the people affected by your actions. Okay, so 3 and 4 is obviously about other steps. Identify your character, you need that for number 6, and you need the name for making your list in number 8 and 9. So this is about an infantry in the sense of, first of all, let me explain. I did not do this step as I was supposed to, or as I just wrote out this way. I didn't do it that way. I was less than 10 days in treatment and never heard any recovery jargon, larking, whatever you call it. I never knew the words. I didn't know what all these things meant about, like, self-esteem, what did it affect, that, you know, I wasn't used to that language. So when I done my very first step 4, I wrote out every single thing what was done to me. I wrote out how they done it, how I felt about it, how I still feel about it. Fuck's sake. It was all about them, what they done. When it came to the column about looking at the defects of character and looking at my side of stuff, I looked at that as fact finding. I looked at it as finding, like, as I said earlier, identifying your character defects and shortcomings so that I could do a step later on down the line. You know, I never took it on. I never owned it. I never owned my defects in the first step 4. My first step 4 was about clearing out a lot of pain, right? And, you know, that's fine. That's what I needed to do. That was my journey. But I'm here to try and give you a tip on that. When you do that, instead of having to go back and go forward again, it's kind of like, it's for you to also look at, you know, it's to break that continual excusing. You know, I kept excusing my behaviour by, they done this, the only reason I done that is because they done it. You know, I was in that loop of, you know, I wasn't resolving any of the past anger or the past blame or the past guilt. I wasn't doing that. I was just unloading, yeah, which I needed to do at that time, which is fine. But what I'm saying is, the clue I'm giving here is also look at your fears and people, places and things. Institutions like school and like what your teacher says to you, what other kids used to say to you. Ideas are principles. An idea, a fear idea can be, I'm not good enough. It could be said to you in school, and then it was the thing. So it's looking at all your fears and where you got, looking at them from all angles, right? Because it's these fears that start building, in my world now, what I look at is these fears that start building the defects of character, or my, you know, my character defects. So it's to look at your own fears and just think about how they might contribute to some of your actions and some of your unhealthy behaviours. And I'm thinking that way, what you're doing is you're allowing yourself to pick up the defect, yeah, to pick up to make it more real, in the sense of, right, your actions have consequences too. It takes you out of that victim role. It takes you out of the they and me. It takes you into the community, into ordinary people, right? Other people. So it brings you into the world race, but just identifying that. You know, this step, you know, it shows you the root cause of your alcoholism or addiction, yeah. And the key principle in doing this step is courage, yeah. Anybody that has anything to write down one name and whatever has courage, has the principle to do this step, right? So what else can I say about this step? What I would suggest, my tidbit would be, while you're doing your column work or you're working through your workbook, to also have a notebook beside it as well. And in that notebook, write out in detail as much of the feeling, as much as the anger, as much of the resentment, as much of shame, guilt, fear, as much as that as possible. Put as much of that into your notebook. You don't have to bring it over to your step 4. You can bring it over lightly to your step 4. But what you need to do, because I was able to do my next step because I had got out of that notebook, was like my first step 4, you know. I needed to recognize, I needed to, you know, explain what happened to me. I needed to give a voice to my pain, you know, and I had never done that. So the relief that came through doing the step 5 of this still was mine to claim, even though I didn't claim defects in that one, yeah? What I'm saying is, it's important that you get a lot of this pain out of you, right? But at the same time as getting the pain out of you, you have to look at the other part too. There's another part, which is your assets. It's extremely important that by the end of your writing of your defects and the pain in your notebook, you write down experiences of where you showed up with qualities that you admire, that you like, your assets. Times you were caring, times you were strong, courage, whatever. But you need to name and give your assets as much room as you have to give the pain, the anger, yeah? So you need to, for me, was following on from the notebook, following on writing all the incidents of where I had shown the ability to be caring, or, you know, I had shown wisdom, whatever assets that you have had, and mainly, you know, a lot of we lose a lot of our assets while we're in addictions, but some of them are still, they're not obscured, because some of them, they follow you from childhood. You can still remember the same feeling that you had to overcome in yourself because of an asset of yours in addiction. So your assets is extremely important to balance off this, for you to be able to hold yourself fairly. It's like getting the yin and yang, you know, it's like holding both parts and being able to, from there, being a whole person, yeah? But for me, I didn't stop this continuous loop that was going on inside of me of excusing people's behaviour, you know, of excusing not people's behaviour, of my self, because of other people's behaviour. I never seen what I'd done to them months beforehand, or what I'd done with that pain. I never took any responsibility. I wasn't able to. Not apart from not knowing the words. I was incapable of doing so at the stage of the time I'm doing my step 4, my first step 4. So my tidbit comes back to the fact of, is write down, make sure you look at your fear, a lot of your fears. A lot of people, you know, you have to make a list of your sexual conduct as well, and see who you've harmed. Have you harmed yourself or someone else? And, you know, but you need to also look at where this behaviour came from. It's not all about I was selfish, you know. Why get the why behind it. Um, this this step is the one who gives you eternal freedom. This is where you get eternal freedom, and you get that. But you know, from whatever stage you sit to do your step 10, you need to have two parts of two sides of yourself, not just all the. That's why people fear this step, because they look like, I'm only going to find my defects. No, it's extremely important that you balance, that you find your assets, and you spend as much time finding them with as many experiences as each of your fears, or your fear of people, places, things, institutions, ideas, principles, whatever. You know, you find as much time in gaining your assets as you do your thing. This is about bringing you into balance. And it's also, what I found in this, it takes you out of that continuous loop of excuse yourself. Because when you keep excusing yourself, you don't have the self honesty really fully in place, and you need to get that self honesty. But this is the way to do, the way I found, by gently doing it. This is the only way it will come. Is by you gently thing. But you need your notebook to get the pain out, because the pain has to come out, and it has to be heard by another human being as well as by God, for it to be let go of in your step 5. So, you know, don't be afraid of this step. This step is not to be afraid of, you know, but it is also to be balanced. Is to find the balance, you know. Um, I think that's really all I can say on this step. Also, one last thing, to find out, you know, because a lot of the jargon didn't help me. Find out what defects mean. Have that in a piece of paper in front of you as well while you're writing out your step 4. Your notebook, your thing for your writing out your step 4, your notebook, and on top an understanding of what character defects means, what assets mean, you know, anything you're unclear about. I mean, if I had done that the first time, it would have been done in one. But that wasn't my journey. That's okay, you know. I found balance now.